Blog Talk Radio.
Okay, here we go. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1.
You are now tuned in to the world's greatest.
Podcasting from the Empire State, this is the Matt Madness Show, a weekly podcast reviewing every Monday Night Raw and WWE pay-per-view.
Give me a hell yeah!
And now, here to give a no-filler, to-the-point analysis for everything WWE, I present to you Matty C. And rest assured, that's best for business.
Welcome to Matt's Madness. This is a Tuesday edition live. I'm breaking format here. Typically, I'll do a pre-recorded session, but I want to give you guys the chance to call in and give me your thoughts on what was a crazy 2 days if you're a wrestling fan, even a casual wrestling fan. It is a time that has probably brought some of you back and has made some of you that stuck with it glad you stuck with it. So please, 646-787-8297 is the number. If you want to call in, give your thoughts. I'll be here for the next 40 minutes, and I'm going to kind of run down WrestleMania again. I know I did it on my previous show yesterday. I'll give some additional thoughts, give a star rating to each match, so it won't be repetitive, and then run down Monday Night Raw. And this is a Raw that started out very hot and ended somewhat flat, and further exposed that 3-hour format of not being the most efficient way. And it's a marathon for WWE and for the fans. 3 hours is just plain too long, and I think at some point they're going to be forced to bring back the 2-hour format. So 646-787-8297 is the number. And if you called in, just press 1, and 1 will bring you back into line to talk to me. And I know Blog Talk sometimes does and does not tell you to press 1. And just press 1 and you'll be in line on the switchboard, and I can connect to you, and we can chat about WrestleMania. We can chat about Monday Night Raw last night. And it was a very hot open to Raw. And I'll get to that in just a second. MatsMadness.com. That's the website, and it has all of my blogs in addition to all of my audio podcasts that you're listening to right now, and the ones I typically do pre-recorded on Tuesday or Wednesdays. So you can listen to all those, all my back issues. And I'm also on iTunes. I'm on Stitcher. I'm on Spreaker, on YouTube, and obviously on Blog Talk Radio. I'm going to try to do a live show once a week to review Monday Night Raw, take calls from you guys, thoughts, suggestions, anything you have we can discuss. Love to hear from you. And if you want to reach out to me on Twitter, it's Matt_Madness on Twitter. So, okay, with all of the housekeeping items out of the way, let's get to Monday Night Raw, which I thought was one of the hotter opens I can't even remember. I don't know the last time we had an open that was really just so well done and so hot. I think Brock Lesnar, who is obviously the biggest babyface WWE has right now, since he put ink to the paper last Tuesday on ESPN and announced that he actually signed the contract with WWE, which is a 3-year term, he has been the hottest babyface WWE has had in years, and I think he will continue to be. And what he did Monday night, just tearing up the place, F5ing Michael Cole to the delight of the crowd, even F5ing the cameraman, which a lot of people are like, well, you know, if you think about it, he's an innocent camera guy just getting pummeled by Brock Lesnar, but at the same time, he's not a traditional babyface, and that's what makes him a great babyface. He's not the clean cut, say your prayers, take your vitamins, just a reincarnation of what John Cena was to Hulk Hogan back in the 80s. He is basically what we loved about Stone Cold Steve Austin. Brock Lesnar is a non-traditional anti-hero that defies authority and just does whatever the hell he wants because he can. And that's what makes him great, and that's what makes us love him. Even when he attacks an innocent civilian, it is just hilarious to watch, and it's entertaining as hell. And I really loved what Brock did Monday night. But let's go through it. Brock Lesnar opened the show. He looked like he was ready to fight, and this was the first time that he came out on Raw in his MMA-style shorts and his gloves and ready to go. And obviously, Paul Heyman is just, I've said it many times on this show and other shows that Brock Lesnar, or Paul Heyman, is the silver tongue. He has got the best talking ability, skills that you can possibly have. He's the top guy on the roster, whether you're a wrestler, you're an announcer, doesn't matter. Paul Heyman is just a genius. And he says that he is the advocate for the most non-PG ass kicker of the PG era, and said that his client would do what he said his client did what he said he would, and he put a beating on the Samoan Badass, and he said suplex about 10 times after that, to which a Suplex City chant broke out, and Brock Lesnar started laughing. I don't know if it was out of character or not, but he loved it because the crowd just picked up on one little thing he said during his match on Sunday, and Brock just gets it. Brock doesn't have a whole lot to say on the mic, but he has a whole hell of a lot to say inside the ring and with his body language. He has connected with the crowd. The crowd respects him. The crowd believes in who he is because they don't think he's playing a character. He's the guy that you look at in the ring and go, wow, like, is that supposed to happen? Is that real? Did he actually hit him? And that's how you know that you're immersed in the story and you really believe in what's going on and you actually care. So Brock has that connection with the crowd that Roman Reigns doesn't, but I'll get there. So Paul Heyman said that Brock almost respects Reigns, but still has a ways to go. And I think that's Paul Heyman's way of kind of vocalizing what the internet wrestling community and a lot of fans that have booed Reigns since the Royal Rumble win have felt about Roman Reigns, saying they almost respect him, but they don't quite yet. Roman Reigns, like I said, I'll get there. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to go over WrestleMania and talk about some points after the Raw review. So, and again, if you want to call in, talk to me, 646-787-8297. I'm also live on Twitter right now. If you have a comment, question, suggestion, anything related to WWE, Raw, WrestleMania, shoot it my way, and we'll have a discussion. So, Rollins then comes out, and Paul Heyman said that Rollins came out and curb stomped everyone in sight, but he pinned the challenger, not the champion. I thought that was a great point to bring up, and it kind of protects Brock, as he never really lost the title. He wasn't ever pinned for it. Very good point. And then Heyman says that Brock wants to invoke his rematch, not at SummerSlam, not at next year's WrestleMania, not at Extreme Rules, but here tonight. The crowd went nuts and bought into it. Steph came out to a shower of boos. Ronda Rousey chants broke out and said that Rollins isn't there yet because he's still in the air from doing the Today Show, but she's sure he will be up for the challenge when he gets there. Heyman says that he's going to give us a spoiler. His client will wrestle on Monday Night Raw and deliver a beating. So, hey, we actually think we may be getting a match, even though most of us wrestling fans know that it is once every blue moon, and if all the stars align and we have a solar eclipse, do we ever get an actual championship match on Monday Night Raw, much less a title change. So I was very, very skeptical at this point, although the live crowd was loving it. Daniel Bryan versus Dolph Ziggler was next. The crowd was back and forth. Neither one got booed because they're both massive crowd favorites, especially in the eyes of the hardcore internet wrestling community fan base. It was a very smooth chain wrestling heavy match, and I think that these two could have one of the better Iron Man matches. If they ever went 60 minutes, I think it would be a classic. So just a little bit of fantasy booking there, but I'm not a fan of the constant headbutts that they're on like a headbutt frenzy right now. I'm not really a fan of it. It's kind of taking me out of the moment, because when you sit and watch these guys do it, yeah, you can tell they're not hitting each other, but I guess they're trying to get us to believe that they are. So if they actually were doing that, like, they would have one really one solid hit from your head to your opponent would cause a concussion, much less about 20 times that they tried to, quote, hit each other. So these headbutts are getting a little bit old, and I could do without them. Nonetheless, I'm nitpicking. So Bryan wins clean with a running knee, and then Bad News Barrett attacks from behind after the match, and then we get the return of Sheamus, and with a very new haircut, new beard, new look, and he chases Bad News Barrett from the ring, and then Brogue kicks Bryan and Ziggler. And I'm all for this. I think Sheamus is just a naturally heel. He's much more comfortable as being a heel. And with Brock Lesnar's pretty much babyface turn, we need new heels for him to work with. And really, to me, I'd rather have a hot heel than a hot babyface, because hot heels pretty much create hot babyfaces. You need somebody to stand up to the wrong that's being done in the wrestling world. The crowd was very vocal. I don't think they were quite at the epic level as last year's post-WrestleMania crowd, but I think they were in the same stratosphere. They were still very vocal, and a "You look stupid" chant broke out to the direction of Sheamus, which Sheamus just grabbed the mic and said, "I'm back." And like I said, I love Sheamus as a heel. I hope it continues, and he could have a nice run as a heel. And the new look is kind of repackaging him. I'm liking it, and we'll see what WWE does with the new character. Then, now, remind you that I do have the 90-minute version of Raw, so I know there's some segments that aren't as big, but they're left off the Hulu version of Raw, the 90-minute version. From the Daniel Bryan-Dolph Ziggler match went directly to the Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So I know there's probably a couple things. I do read through what happens. I do read the Raw reports, so totally oblivious to the full Raw results. But just so you know, I'm not skipping things on purpose. And so that was the next match. It was Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins, and I thought at this point that we were actually going to get the match. Seth Rollins comes down. They went deep into this, and I was thinking to myself, wow, they may actually go through with this, until Rollins steps outside the ring, and then grabs the mic and says he's feeling jet lagged and his foot hurts from curb stomping you and Roman Reigns last night, and he will give Brock his rematch, just not tonight. And to me, this makes perfect sense. It pisses off the crowd. It even, I'm sitting there and I almost bought into it. I'm a 20-year veteran as a wrestling fan, and I almost bought into a possibility of this match happening. And it was a last-second dropout from Rollins, but it's perfect for his character. I think Rollins is the MVP again of 2014, and has just come light years from being Tyler Black in the NXT, and I'm loving it. So I was thinking this could happen at Extreme Rules, but we'll see. Brock then goes crazy, attacks Rollins. Rollins kicks Brock with an enziguri, but had no effect. And then he runs out of the ring. J&J get demolished after Brock went for an F5 on Rollins. And then he starts attacking innocent bystanders. He flips over the announce desk, grabs Cole, and it was just great. Cole gets an F5 in the middle of the ring. His shoe falls off. It was, anytime Cole gets demolished, it's just entertaining to watch. Michael Cole is just not naturally liked. He will never be Jim Ross. He will never really be endeared to the fans. He'll never be a Jerry Lawler. It's just he has a connection with the crowd, but it's not a genuine embracing love that they have like for a Jim Ross. And anytime Cole gets destroyed, it's always it's just entertaining, period. And so the crowd loved it, as did I. And then he takes the cameraman on the ring, throws him in, F5s, well, almost F5s the cameraman. Steph comes out, tries to stop him and reason with him, tells Brock to put him down. Obviously, Brock does not. F5s the cameraman. I'm just loving this at this point. Brock is just a beast on the hunt, and when you can't control a beast, it makes for great television. I think we all can agree with that. And then at that point, Steph says, pretty much, she says that you're suspended indefinitely. And then Brock picks up the cameraman again and F5s him one last time before leaving. This is just great stuff. I know people look at it as he's a babyface attacking innocent people, but at the same time, it is great to see just carnage and things that you just don't see anymore. Back to the likes of, when you think about it, Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you go back, he stunned Mae Young. He's stunned women. He's stunned Stephanie. He's stunned ring announcers, referees, everybody you can think of. So the logic of, well, he's a babyface and why, we shouldn't be liking him because he's attacking innocent people. It's just entertainment, and I love it. I'm all for it. So good stuff. I think Brock is absolutely white hot at this point. He hasn't been hotter since he came back, and I'm loving it. So if you have a comment, question, suggestion, 646-787-8297. I got a tweet here from Father Mucker 8. I did say Father Mucker. I did not say it the other way around. He says that do we see a triple threat match between Ziggler, Sheamus, and Bryan at Extreme Rules? Interesting. I think these three are the top guys in the mix for the IC title. I think it's I'm absolutely for that, because Sheamus is probably going to be a pretty solidified heel at that point, and you have Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler who can go, and to me they're one of the top three guys on the roster in terms of wrestling ability and putting on a great show. And I think we see that match. I think it's going to be a multi-person match. Obviously not a 7-person ladder match like we saw at Mania, but again, definitely a plausible possibility for Extreme Rules. So thanks for the question. We then have a John Cena open challenge for the U.S. title. And as per the usual, John Cena gets buried by the post-WrestleMania crowd. He addresses the boos and the fact that people were singing along to his entrance theme by saying, John Cena sucks, John Cena sucks. So, again, and John Cena, at this point, whether you love or hate John Cena, you respect him, and it's just kind of tradition to boo him the night after WrestleMania. So I think he even enjoys it at this point, and it's not quite the hatred. I don't want to say hatred for Reigns, but the disapproval of Reigns, that it is more of a tradition to just boo John Cena because he's such a clean babyface, and that's why Brock gets cheered. He's a non-traditional babyface that just tears stuff up and dominates and does what he says. So just a little bit of a comparison there. But nonetheless, Dean Ambrose comes out, and at this point we have Byron Saxton on commentary. And I mentioned this on a radio show that I did, which I'll post a link up in a week or so, that Byron Saxton, he was almost kind of commentating a golf tournament. It sounded like, or a bowling tournament, or some kind of very low-energy show. And not that Byron was bad. He just didn't have an energy that made me excited to watch what was on TV, the product. So he wasn't doing a good job. And to me, if I was Byron, I would have looked at this as an opportunity to maximize my minutes. Give him a little bit of credit, though. This was his first time totally solo, doing commentary. So I can't knock him, but maybe give him a little more time, a little more he didn't have it. That's for sure. So, nonetheless, when Jerry Lawler came in, it was a breath of fresh air, and a lot of people were like, "Whew, at least somebody's here to cover him. He needs something." And Jerry Lawler was the right guy in the right place at the right time for that. So, the match between John Cena and Ambrose was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid match, in a match that saw a different side of Ambrose than the jumping off a ladder onto Bray Wyatt 40 times that we saw last year and that we saw at WrestleMania. I think Ambrose needs to be kept away from the hardcore matches for a long time because he has a good amount of skill in the ring, and he showed it with that match with John Cena last night. And John Cena applied the STF, Ambrose fought out of it, and then Ambrose put an STF on John Cena that actually looked, I think, in my opinion, a little bit tighter, a little bit snugger and better. And then we had a Dirty Deeds to a kick out, which, and I've mentioned this several times, it's almost expected for people to kick out of finishers at this point, and I think it should go the other way. I don't like seeing people kick out of finishers so much. it devalues the finishers, and it makes the matches not as dramatic and believable. So I'd like to see finishers less kicked out of the pay-per-views and the big matches when it's actually surprising when people kick out of finishers. So we have Cena in a stage of his career here now where he's kind of giving back to the business by elevating other talent to make it look like they can hang with him in the ring. And I think that's good because John Cena doesn't need the WWE title. He's doing the business a favor at this point in his career by really, I don't want to say he's de-elevating himself, but he's just giving back to the business. He could at any point be thrown back in the WWE World Heavyweight title picture and do just fine. But at this point, it's not like the reactions or merchandise sales are declining. He's just giving back to the business, and he's just taking a break from being the top guy, and I think that's good. So Cena wins with the AA. It was a good showing for Ambrose, though, and he really sold the loss very well. He seemed very deflated and aggravated, so that was nice to see. We then had the Rollins interview with Renee Young and said that Brock got exactly what he deserved with the suspension, and his behavior is unbecoming of a champion, and that he should be fined very hefty in seven-figure territory, and that he cashed in when everyone least expected it. I don't know about that. We all knew it was a possibility, but I was so immersed in the match that I didn't expect it at that point. So hopefully he keeps this title for a long time. Like I said, I always enjoy the babyface chasing the heel for the title. I think it just tells a better story. And it's just the journey is more important than the destination. Because once you have the babyface as champion, then where do you go from there? It's just easier for the heel to get heat when he's champion. It just tells a better overall story. It's the struggle of the babyface to get to the top that really creates a great program. So I hope Rollins keeps this title for a very long time. I really do. Orton then came in and confronted Rollins and said that one of his problems was suspended, but he has another one standing right in front of him and wants his rematch that he never got from last year. Rollins gets backed up by Big Show and Kane, who, these guys are getting super stale. I think Big Show and Kane need to either get completely repackaged or just take about 2 months off from TV. These guys are super overexposed, but I don't think it's not their fault. I think WWE is just so thin on talent, but I won't go there. I think many of us can relate to the Big Show and Kane they're just snoozers at this point, unfortunately. At least have Kane go back to being the demon. Put the mask back on. We all know you don't need a mask, but just put it back on and make it more interesting. Get rid of the slacks. Anyway, so basically a 6-man tag gets set up between Rollins, Big Show, and Kane, and then Orton has to find 2 partners, which we all know was Ryback and eventually Reigns. We then get AJ and Paige and Naomi versus Natalya and the Bellas. Nikki accidentally hits Brie. Naomi wins with her butt bump, or AKA rear view, I guess it's called. It was a decent match, and I mentioned this that WrestleMania they've really done a great match of giving, or a great thing by giving the Divas more time rather than just the typical 3-minute. Here's a couple of clotheslines, a couple of sloppy bumps, and the roll up for the win. I think that the Divas are getting more time, but the Divas are doing their part by they really are improving leaps and bounds, especially Nikki. AJ and Paige obviously are what they are. They're very solid in the ring. It was a decent match, and I'm all for the whole give Divas a chance. I can see visually what WWE has done over the past number of weeks, and I'm all for the Divas division growing and getting more time. Rusev versus Goldust. There was no Lana again, which I guess storyline-wise they're playing up as they're having issues, but in reality she's off filming a movie. Rusev dominated most of the match, and this was really just a match to get Rusev his heat back after blowing it off at WrestleMania on Sunday. It was a squash match for Rusev, kind of going back to the beginning, building his foundation again to just maybe go on another streak, or say he's never tapped out because he's been pinned, but he's never tapped out, so he could go on that. But Rusev, to me, needs to get back on track because he had a whole lot of momentum. I personally would not have had Rusev lose at WrestleMania, but now that what's done is done, Rusev needs to get his heat back. How does he do that? Just by dominating again, just doing what worked at the beginning. So we'll see what happens with Lana, though. Apparently Vince is very high on Lana. He has big plans for her. We'll see where that goes. Right to the main event of Raw. I'll be here for another 20 minutes. 646-787-8297 is the number. Again, if you're on hold or you're listening through your phone, press 1. Or if you're on Skype, you got to press 1 to call in and actually be in line to talk. So I appreciate any kind of feedback. Also on Twitter or questions at mattsmadness.com if you want to use email, or mattsmadness.com is the website with all my info there. So then we get to the main event of Raw, and it's Rollins and Kane and the Big Show versus Orton, Ryback, and Reigns. There were tons of great chants throughout the whole night. Some of the funny ones that were during this match, the crowd was chanting, "Please retire" to the Big Show, and same old you know what. And then the crowd doing the wave. So that was interesting. The crowd absolutely buried Reigns. And I think WWE knew that this was going to happen. So by Roman Reigns coming out as a surprise partner, him not even being advertised, I think WWE thought by him coming out at the very end, everyone's going to be exhausted, and they got all of their luster and their energy out at the beginning of the show. So they're not going to be a whole lot of heavy boos for Reigns, but there really was. They had a whole lot of energy left, and they gave it to Reigns, whatever they had left in them. Reigns got buried, just as I thought he would, because if Roman Reigns had come out at the beginning, imagine if Roman Reigns opened Raw. I think it would have been a disaster, and it's just like WWE is trying to protect Roman Reigns from being booed. I don't know why they're fighting this. They're just in a boat with a paddle going upstream with a current that just continues to push them back. It would be so much easier if they just let it happen. Let the people boo him. They're just being defiant in what the crowd is doing and telling you what they want. They're probably chalking it up to it's just a WrestleMania crowd. It's a post-WrestleMania crowd. Oh, these are just hardcore crowds that are booing Roman Reigns. And at the house shows, he's getting cheered. But when you go to the house shows, it's families and children that are just going to eat whatever is fed to them, and this guy is clearly the good guy, so I'm going to cheer for him. They don't scratch below the surface, and that's fine. But when you get on live TV, Roman Reigns gets booed. So I'm going to continue moving down the line here. I got 17 minutes left. 646-787-8297 is the number. So Orton got dominated for 3/4 of the match. Eventually, Orton got the hot tag to Reigns, who got booed out of the building. There was a shell shock on Big Show, which was very impressive and made the crowd pop. That was pretty cool. A curb stomp to Ryback, and then an RKO on Kane. Reigns speared Kane for the win, and Reigns gets booed again. I think the more WWE fights this Reigns heel turn, I think the more he's going to get booed. So and you know what? Which makes it interesting. Because if he turns heel, will the crowd still boo him? You know, it's kind of like the old John Cena argument. People boo John Cena, they want him to turn heel, but will the same people who boo him as a heel cheer him, or boo him as a babyface, cheer him as a heel? So it's interesting. Maybe just leave him as is. He's getting a reaction of some sort. At least they're not being apathetic towards him. All right, I got a little over 15 minutes left. I'm going to run down WrestleMania 31. I'm not going to go through details in depth on each match because I don't have the time, and because I kind of already did that last night on my post-WrestleMania show. I gave my thoughts on every match, so let me just start running down here. I'll start with the tag match, the Fatal 4-Way tag match. I gave it 3 stars. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro retaining. I'm totally for that. I don't like the hot potato tag titles being moved around. I think it makes the title more important and really solidifies the title more when a specific team or a person is holding a title for a long period of time. But I think both men are good heels, but they haven't reached their full potential. They haven't figured out who they are yet. Nonetheless, it was a technically sound 3 stars, as I said, from a wrestling perspective. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, I gave it 2.5 stars. I think Miz and Mizdow and their interaction saved this from being a complete stinker of a match. Mizdow, to me, is obviously he's over. If he was the last guy in the match, WWE recognizes this. And Big Show winning, I'm okay with this. A lot of people are down on this, but to me, it adds a little bit more importance to the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and actually winning it, because while Big Show is an obvious choice, he was the right choice. It adds value to that trophy that a lot of people just kind of poo-poo on and think it doesn't mean anything. But, when Andre the Giant, one of the biggest names in wrestling history, having the Big Show win was a great tribute for that. And having Mizdow win would have been kind of made it just a joke. And, it would have been entertaining to see, but you want importance on winning the matches. So the IC title ladder match, I thought I give that 3.5 stars. Bad News Barrett and R-Truth, Dean Ambrose, Luke Harper, Dolph Ziggler, Daniel Bryan, and Stardust. As expected, this was a car crash of a match, and it was great effort by all involved. There were some nasty bumps. Dean Ambrose getting powerbombed on the side of, or off the apron onto a ladder. It looked like he landed on his neck. That was brutal. Those are the ones that you're sitting on your couch going, ooh, and you're a little concerned, but obviously he's okay. And Bryan winning adds value to the IC title, no question. And we'll move up in here. United States title match, 3 stars. And that's barely 3 stars. Give me 2 3/4, because Rusev and John Cena, I really thought they would deliver more. I really expected more from this. The match kind of seemed clunky at times, but it did what it needed to do. And the mission clearly here was, yes, we're ending Rusev's streak, but we're having John Cena hold the U.S. title to make the U.S. title important, which seemed to be the mission as a whole and as a theme for WWE to make all their titles mean more. I'm all for that. Nonetheless, it did what it needed to do. Okay match, slightly above average. Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins, from a wrestling perspective, I give that the match of the night. That RKO finish, to me, added a star by itself. That was an amazing finish, and the RKO out of nowhere, commentary was no better placed than during that spot in the match. It was a great story told by both guys. They have great chemistry together. There were some false finishers that were awesome, and I wouldn't mind seeing these two go at it again. I think we will down the line based on the story that WWE is telling us right now. And really, to think about what they pulled off, they only had one shot to do it. There's no retakes. So for him to go for that curb stomp, reverse into the RKO was awesome to see. That's for sure. So then we have Paige and AJ Lee versus the Bella Twins. This was kind of those, all right, get up and stretch, go get a hot dog and a beer if you're hungry and thirsty. No disrespect to the Divas, because I thought they had a great match, but WWE needs a kind of a intermission, if you will. And I think they still had a great match. I'd give this match 3 stars. It was decent. I think the bumps were great and great effort by all involved. And I really am happy about the Divas division getting more attention than they ever have. When you look at years past, it's always been a Diva Battle Royal, like 30 women in there, throwing each other over the top rope carelessly, and it just looks like a cluster. And I think really that they're putting effort in, and it's showing. So I enjoyed it. Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker. I'm going to give this 3 3.25 stars. It was a good match. I thought it, again, did what he needed to do. It was as advertised. I think we all were concerned about The Undertaker rolling into WrestleMania. How would he look? How would he perform in a match? Because last year he suffered a concussion early in the match, but on top of that, he didn't look really well. He looked kind of sick or frail and kind of old. So it's almost like he turned back the clock this year. And really, while he has a receding hairline, I think the haircut he has now looks better than that shaved head / mohawk that he had going on last year. And it didn't look like Undertaker got injured this year, so I think we see Undertaker. He at least has one left in him. He could easily hang up the boots in Dallas as long as WWE advertises ahead of time that this is his final match. That's how you'll sell tickets, because if it just after the fact goes, yep, that's it, I'm hanging up the boots, you've wasted an opportunity. WWE needs to tell the fans ahead of time, hey, this is Undertaker's last match at WrestleMania 32 in front of 100,000+ people. That's how you do it. So I would say Taker has obviously one left in him, 2 max. I think WrestleMania 33 would be it. But time will tell. Time will tell. This guy is a machine. So Sting versus Triple H. I'd give this one 3 3/4 stars. It was a cluster F of a match, but it somehow worked. There was great nostalgia in the match. It told a good story. That WCW versus WWE thing, at first it was weird because Triple H was viewing it as that, but then Sting comes out and says, hey, no, that would be stupid to fight for WCW. But then I think they brought that up because they knew where they were going at WrestleMania. It wouldn't have made any sense for these guys to come out if they hadn't have brought it up previously. So, and I'm talking about DX and the NWO. It went all over the place. It was hard to follow at times, but it somehow worked. And I think that Triple H winning from a storyline perspective makes a whole lot of sense because, hey, Sting got the upper hand every single time that they had an interaction, all the way back to Survivor Series. So at some point, Triple H is going to get his, and he did at WrestleMania. So I think it sets up Triple H versus possibly The Rock, whether it's at SummerSlam or WrestleMania 32, although there's Brock and Rock that everyone's talking about. And to me, obviously, Brock and Rock is a bigger sell. But Sting, from his comments last night on Monday night when he said that, if WWE throws opportunities at him, obviously he'll take them. He's a little bit out of character, a little strange, that whole segment after Raw with Sting. He was a little bit out of character and kind of just really poured cold water on the whole match that he had with Triple H at WrestleMania because he was really, that's his whole mission, was to take Triple H down. And then he said, oh, it's just great to be there. And no, sell your story. Don't break character. But I think we see Sting next year, whether it's against Undertaker or not, remains to be seen. But I think that's the obvious opinion. It's just who wins that match. Neither can afford to win, or neither Sting nor Undertaker can afford to lose. So think about it. You have Sting go over. Okay, well, the Undertaker is now 22-2. So now apparently Sting is on the level of Brock Lesnar. It just devalues Brock's win. There should only be one person who ever beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania, not more than one. Streak's already broken. It's over. So if you're going to have one person, make it the Beast. Make it Brock Lesnar. But you can't have Sting lose because then Sting is 0-2 at WrestleMania. He doesn't have his WrestleMania win moment. So it's really, I don't know how, if WWE can somehow convince me or think of a scenario, if anybody's got a scenario in which somebody could win and it makes sense, please share it with me because I don't know. All right, so then we get to the WWE World Heavyweight title match. I give this one 4 4.25 stars. So this one to me, I think it exceeded expectations. It was very physical and believable. It wasn't technically sound, but it wasn't meant to be. A slow, methodical pace told the story, and Roman Reigns showed he can take a beating. And from a psychological standpoint, I think I mentioned this yesterday, that WWE was aiming to relent, to show us that Roman Reigns can take a beating. They were trying to have Roman Reigns pay his dues on a public platform and really address the criticism around him that he hasn't paid his dues and that he hasn't really shown us that he deserves this spot. So by him just getting a total beatdown from Brock Lesnar, I think that was their response to get us on his side. WWE is just relentlessly trying to make this guy a babyface, and it's just not working. He has to organically connect. You can't have a factory-made corporate hand-picked champion connect with the crowd. It's very, very difficult to manufacture that organic, real connection with the crowd, and Roman Reigns has not done that yet. That's why just turn him heel. People are already booing him. Just let it ride. Think about it. Stone Cold had a heel run. The Rock had a heel run. It just allows the crowd to hate you before they can respect you to ultimately like you. There's a whole progression instead of just being catapulted to the top, skipping the Intercontinental title and U.S. title stops. He just went right from being in the Shield to being in winning the Royal Rumble and being in the main event at WrestleMania. That screams you got handpicked and you got glad-handed a main event spot at WrestleMania. That is why the crowd does not like you, on top of the fact that Reigns can't help the fact that he is just coming through as an arrogant, self-entitled person, really, even off the record on the Sam Roberts podcast. He just hasn't connected organically like a Daniel Bryan did, which happened out of nowhere, seemingly, to WWE's response, putting him in the main event. So until Roman Reigns gets that connection and really figures out who he is and how to connect with the crowd organically, he will not be a top babyface. On top of the fact that he hasn't, quote, earned it in front of the fans yet, he hasn't really had that bond with the fans that really you can identify yourself with. Yeah, the women want to sleep with him. He's a good-looking guy. He's got the look, but that's really, to me, where it ends right now. He hasn't spoken a word in about 2 weeks. He didn't speak on the Raw before WrestleMania, didn't speak at WrestleMania, and didn't speak on Monday Night Raw. They know his weaknesses, and they're trying to protect him. And I think, I don't know why, just let him go, let him loose. Let him loose and just let him be himself, because I think who he is naturally is a heel as a person. So only got a few minutes left here. If you're listening, thank you. I appreciate it. 646-787-8297. Any last-minute phone calls, suggestions, or comments on Raw or WrestleMania, love to hear it. Send me a tweet on Twitter, email, or any way you want to get in touch with me. My Twitter is Matt_Madness. That's my Twitter handle if you'd like to get in touch with me. And I'll probably be doing a live show next week as well, maybe during the week if permitted. We'll see about that. It depends what kind of wrestling news comes out during the week. Post-WrestleMania week, there's always tons of stuff going on, backstage antics, injuries, things that we just haven't thought of or are brought up by other people. If anything does come up that is of significance and worth discussing with other wrestling fans, absolutely. I will be doing another live show, and if I do that, I'll tweet it out. I'll tweet out the link, and you can follow me on Matts_Madness on Twitter or just on MattsMadness.com. I will also put up a post if you want to follow me on there as well for any kind of live show that I'll be doing. So, again, I want to thank you guys for listening. And any comments, questions, suggestions, please definitely don't hesitate to reach out. And WrestleMania is over now, so we'll see where WWE goes. We're in the WrestleMania hangover, and I think the next month or so is going to be very interesting to see whether this wave of wrestling popularity that seemingly just generated overnight is short-term and just comes crashing down, because the ratings, I guess, Monday night were pretty big for WWE, or if they can sustain this growth. I know also the WWE Network has had, 1.3 million subscribers, so things seem to be going good for WWE, but is it just a short-term Band-Aid for their issues? Or maybe this is a resurgence in professional wrestling. So, all right, guys, I'm going to head down the road here, but again, anything you have for me, future shows, talking points, definitely let me know. Again, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you guys next time.